On this week's episode of the Whissel Way podcast, I interview our top agent, Adrian Quijano. He's been in the industry for 2.5 years. He joined us in June of 2021. He has doubled his business every year. I talk a little bit about with Adrian about kind of what are the three things that make him successful. He talks about belief, talks about hard work, and he talks about treating people right. So we go into all of that and more in this week's episode of the Whissel Way podcast. Adrian, welcome to the Whissel Way podcast. I am glad to have you finally on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Bryan.
Adrian, one of the things that I really appreciate about you is every time I hear you talking to an agent, you'll be talking about things, and I come up to you afterwards and I say, that was amazing. You go, doesn't everyone do that? I go, no, not everyone does that. And so I really wanted to have you on to talk kind of about your mindset and how you got to where you are here, being the top agent on the Whissel Realty Group team. Before we talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about your numbers. Adrian came to real estate in 2021, joined our team in June of 2021, and in that first year did 15 deals. Is that right?
Is that correct? That's correct.
Second year, so first full year in the business, first full calendar year in the business. Second year at Whissel, 2022, you did 30 deals in the business.
That sounds about right.
And 2023, this year that we're filming this episode on now, you're on track to do 60 deals.
Yes, sir.
So you've doubled every year, coming in from non-real estate background to very quickly being our number one agent on the team. I want to talk today about how you do that, kind of your mindset, and especially about some other things we talked about in the past. Before we get to that, you are listening to the Real Estate Success Whissel Way podcast. I am Bryan Kochi, your host, again, joined by Adrian Quijano, like I said, our top agent. On the podcast, we like to talk about tips, tricks, tools to help you move your business forward in real estate. Whether you are a brand new agent, whether you are on a team, whether you have been on a team or solo for 20 years, or you're running your own brokerage, this podcast is for you. Adrian, and also if you want more information about real estate and growing your business, go to thewhisselway.com. You can go on there to find more information about our podcast, our YouTube channel, our referral network. As people join or as people leave San Diego, we need to send them somewhere. And so sign up for that. You can learn more information about our video creation course called Media Mayor Mastermind. And you can ask a question that gets answered right here on the show. That's all at thewhisselway.com. Adrian, let's get into it. First, give me a little bit of background. What were you doing before real estate?
That's a really good question, Bryan. I was selling cybersecurity and IT solutions to businesses here in Southern California and school districts.
Very cool. And so what made you want to get into real estate?
So go back,
smiles and pauses.
Go back a couple years. I was attending college at Cerritos College, and I took one of the courses, the real estate principles, and I just fell in love with the class. I really liked my teacher, and I got a certification afterwards. And then I took the next class the next semester, and I was like, man, it would be nice if I could be a realtor one day or be in the real estate industry in the future. Obviously, that was many years ago. I think that was more than 10 years ago. I was still young,
immature. As if not young now.
I look young, but I'm not that young anymore. But yeah, so that's how I got into the interest of being in the real estate industry. And one day I was like, hey, maybe I'll be in real estate. I wanted to be my own boss, be in business for myself. And now I'm here.
So I want to talk a little bit about your mindset and for anyone that's listening to this, how to get where you are, because we just made an announcement last Tuesday that you have eclipsed the $500,000 GCI gross commission year to date, and you've got plenty more to go. How do you do that being 2.5 years into the business?
So I guess I was talking to one of the newer agents a couple of days ago, and I get this question a lot, like, how do you do it?
Yeah.
How are you able to, do the volume that you're doing now, considering that you've only been in the business for less than 3 years? Um, I always tell people, like, first you got to believe in yourself. I think that's the first step, is actually believing that you can do this, and believing that, hey, you're one of the top, if not the top, realtor here in San Diego County. Uh, so believe, or having the right mindset, right? I think that's the first step, because everything else will follow, right? The how to's, how to do a buyer consultation, listing appointment, prospecting, et cetera, et cetera. I think believing in yourself truly, and having a vision, and you can actually visualize yourself um, being the top 1% real estate agent in the county. I think that's first step. And then second step would be just pure hard work. I think it's very simple, right? Believe in yourself, and then work at it every single day, and staying consistent, showing up, right? Like Kyle always says, how you show up to anything is how you show up to everything.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget that when he said that. And that's how
Which
I
is
run my
good.
business.
I was worried you were going to be late, and I literally thought of that quote today, and then I came out and you were here early. I was like, okay, good on you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bryan. So to answer your question, believe, and just show up every single day, and just stay consistent and put in the work.
I want to talk a little bit more about that, but the third thing that I've heard you talk to agents that I really appreciate, and I truly, genuinely believe this is the secret to your success, is you treat every client like family, right? And I've heard you say this, and you're like, you just got to take care of people. Talk a little bit more about that, and kind of your mindset on that. And again, it sounds simple, but what do you mean when you talk about, I treat people like family? Because you get, at this point, you're getting a majority of your business from repeat and referral business 2.5 years in. People wait 15 years to do this, and you're getting it 2.5 years in.
Yeah. That's a really good comment there, Bryan. I appreciate you noticing that, because I really take a lot of pride in helping my clients and treating them like family. Because for me, coming from a family-oriented background, I think, and coming from humble beginnings, I think it just naturally for me, I treat my clients like family, because I come from a very family-oriented background. I come from humble beginnings, and I want to help other people, purchase or sell their house. It's the American dream. So, in other words, I always tell this to other agents, like, I'm not in the real estate business. I'm in the people business. And automatically my mindset shifts, right? Because I don't consider myself in the real estate industry. I consider myself in a people business.
Yeah. And so I love that, because it turns you from a salesperson to just a person, right? And so I've heard you talk with clients. I've seen you with your clients, and you'll tell them, hey, don't buy right now, or hey, let's wait 6 months to sell, or you'll tell them. I've seen you go above and beyond, and someone's like, oh, I like this house, I guess, and you're like, this doesn't hit all your boxes. Let's keep looking. I'll see you
Right.
do what's in best interest for your clients, even though it's not what's in best interest for you. You could easily say, oh, sure, let's put an offer on this place and get it accepted, and cool. But you know that this isn't what they want. And so I love watching you really focus on your clients and what they want and what they need, and not letting them settle, but also not letting them dilly-dally, right? Not letting them go, oh, I'm looking for 17 years now. Like you help them get motivated. So I really love that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bryan. One of the things that I always tell my clients, hey, look, like, always invite me to, the housewarming. I'll show up. Trust me. A lot of my clients actually invite me to their family events. One of my clients who just recently sold and bought in Chula Vista. They invited me to one of their sons' birthday party, and I showed up and brought a gift, and they were very appreciative. They were super happy that I actually showed up. I met the grandparents, I met the brothers, and so I was again, it's just for me naturally, like I just love people.
Yeah.
You know,
And of course, when you went, you wore all your Whissel swag. You handed out business cards to all the kids, right? You were that super douchey salesperson, right?
no, absolutely not.
Dang
Nice try, Brian.
But yeah, right. You're just talking to people, and
Yeah,
building relationships.
100%. And I didn't even have to bring up real estate. They're the ones bringing it up, asking me, what do you think about the market? And, as long as you're genuine, right? Like you're genuinely interested in people. I feel like a lot of realtors, they're too salesy. And one way to be too salesy is like you're the ones talking majority of the time. Like I have this 80-20 rule. Every time I talk to a client or anybody in general, even my mom, my cousins, my family, friends, like I try not to speak a lot because if you're speaking, you're not listening to people. So being genuinely interested in people, naturally, they're going to be interested in you. So there's a saying like to be interesting, you have to be interested, right? I'm going to say that again. To be interesting, you have to be interested. So that means you have to be genuinely interested in people for them to, be open-minded of what you have to say. You don't have to be talking about yourself all the time. And a lot of agents are going to be like, yeah, we're the best team in San Diego County. We saw the most transactions and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, people don't really care about what you have to say or how much you know until they actually know how much you care. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're coming in with all the sayings.
Yeah.
Don't cite any of them. Don't give anyone credit. Just call them out. So I want to go back. I love that. So one, the three things. How did you get where you are here? You believe in yourself with confidence, right?
Yep.
You have hard work, right?
Yeah.
That's the simple, but not easy.
Yeah.
And three, you treat people like family. Let's go back to hard work. And one of the things we talked about is a lot of when we talked about this off camera, a lot of agents will confuse hard work or working with good work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I was busy all day. I cleaned up my office and I deleted some spam emails. I was on Facebook for 4 hours. I called and updated my car insurance. They're busy, but they weren't doing anything productive, right? So we talked about income producing activity. So one, tell me about a little bit how you schedule your day and what are the things that you put in there that are actually moving the needle and making you move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So he mentioned income producing activities, but what I call them are IPAs, not the beer, but IPAs, right? Income producing activities. And I think I learned this many years ago. I don't remember where, but it always stood out and I'll never forget it when I first heard it because it was so easy. For me, my brain, the way it works, like I tend to put acronyms into things so that way I can understand it better. And probably because I was I was in the Marines and we use acronyms all the time in the military. So IPAs. I have this rule, and I'm going to always go back to this rule. It's called the 80-20 rule. And every day, 80% of my activity are IPAs and 20% are admin work. Okay.
So what are some of those IPAs?
Yeah. So booking appointments, meeting with clients face-to-face or a Zoom call, doing buyer consultations, prospecting, as far as open houses, circle dialing, just cold calling, doing door knocking. So a lot of the lead generation should be IPAs, right? Meeting with clients and all that stuff. So the rest, 20% of your activity every single day should be admin work. So what that means, anything as far as looking at your emails, and putting pending forms and filling out forms online, whatever you have to do, or looking for properties online for your clients, like that could be an IPA, but I consider as an admin work. So anything besides prospecting, being in front of a client or a human being, face to face or virtually, is other than that is admin work.
So you'd kind of would consider a different way to put it is an IPA or an income producing activity are things that are uniquely that you are qualified for. And all the other stuff is stuff you can typically offload, either hire, have your team handle, have an assistant handle, have a virtual assistant handle, have a showing agent, that type of stuff that you can offload. You want to spend as much time doing the things that only you can do, right? Only you can negotiate as well as you can. Only you can close. And I think we talked about this. What are you at? Like a 50% acceptance rate for your buyer's offers. That's something that is so good for you to do. You can't have an assistant do that, right? The next thing I want to kind of move into is we always talk about tracking your numbers, knowing your numbers. Kyle pitches hard about knowing your P&L, what you're spending money on, what you're making. We talk today about transactions. We talk about volume. We talk about a lot of numbers, and it can be very easy, especially for a lot of real estate agents that are a high D on the disc profile, a big driver, to get lost in all these numbers. You told me you have one number that you track monthly, and that's all you really care about. And this is interesting. Again, we were getting into the elevator in our other office, and I said, I've never heard someone talk about that was the one number. Usually it's contacts or appointments or number of dials. Like I said, number of closed. You track something different. Talk about that.
Yeah. Again, it's like one of those things, like I thought everybody else is doing it. But for me, to answer your question, I only track the amount of escrows that I open every single month. And the reason why is because I can control that, right? I cannot control the amount of close. I mean, yes, I could, but there's no way for me to tell if, let's say, if I'm on the listing side, I cannot control if the buyer is going to have cold feet, or I cannot control if whatever inspection findings that they find, they're gonna back out because of the inspection findings. Like there's a lot of factors that I cannot control, but when I open, let's say 6 escrows.
Wait, let me guess. Is it an 80-20 rule? You expect 80% of them to close?
Yes. I was going to say that. You beat me to it.
You got to keep it going. I was hoping you wouldn't change it up.
100%. So right now, I already opened 6 escrows for this month. And I got about 2 more to go. So my goal for this month is to open 8 escrows. I'm looking at the date right now. I think today's the 25th.
It is.
I got about 5-6 days for this month to open 2 more. And again, the reason why I'm only tracking mostly my escrows is because I have more control over that. And let me explain why. So let's say I am, it's first day of the month and I'm like, okay, I'm back to 0. Now I got to go open 8 more, 6 more, right? So at least, so my brain, the way it works, so if I have to open 8 more escrows for the month, my brain starts to work backwards.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to have to look at my pipeline. Who are my hottest clients? Who are the ones that are like most likely to transact, put an offer, or the amount of listings that I have. So I have to start counting those. Okay, I have 3 listings that are going live this month. Okay, depending on when are they going to go live, then I can calculate, okay, these are going to open escrow this month. Now I'm like looking at all my pipeline, all my clients, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I open 8 escrows for this month? So I guess that's how my brain works. If I don't have anybody in my pipeline that are hot, ready to go, then that's when I'll start making dials.
Mhm.
I don't have to count the amount of dials that I have right now. When I first started, I counted my dials, how many people that I talked to, et cetera, et cetera. That's when I first started because I didn't really have any experience, and I didn't have any numbers to go off of. So all I had to do was like prospect literally maybe 90% of the time every single day is all about prospecting because I didn't have a book of business. Now my business is a little bit different. I'm a little bit more experienced. My closing rate's a little bit higher. So, and I'm a different person. So the amount of calls that I needed to make before is a little bit different now. It's a less amount of calls that I have to make in order for me to generate the same results that I needed back then.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it does. And what I love about it is, like you said, it puts you in the mindset and you have more control of pending.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said, "Hey, I want to close 6 a month," I mean,
Hmm.
you got to plan the month before. That's a long sales cycle.
Yeah.
If you go, "Okay, hey, I want to close 6 a month and I've only closed, 5 right now and it's the end of the month," and you have nothing in escrow, you're going to fail your goal every time. But if you can push to say, "Okay, let me find some hot buyers, let me
Hmm.
prospect for more," and
Hmm.
that will push you to hit your goal, and knowing that if you
Yeah.
allow, if you pretend, if you expect 20% to fall out, okay, I want 10 escrows a month, and that'll get me 8 closings a month.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then not only that, I cannot control the terms of the offer, right? Because
Mhm.
some escrows are going to be 10 days escrow,
Yep.
15-day, 21-day, 30 days. So that's another factor. I don't like counting my closings for the month. That's not my goal. If I could open 8 escrows in 1 month, I know somewhere along the lines they're gonna close, but sometimes they get pushed back, for whatever reason. So yeah,
So
that's the
you,
reason why I like counting my escrows is because I have more control. That's probably my high D personality,
really,
and I'm
so you
still
don't want to
working on
track
that.
30 numbers. You can track one number. I
Yeah,
love it. That's easy.
thank you.
Um, before we end here, I want to talk a little bit more about kind of, you talked about hard work.
Mhm,
And we talked about you kind of slipped it in there. You used to spend 90% of your day prospecting when you first got in here. And that's where I
mhm,
think a lot of agents go, "Oh, no, no, I'll work hard by checking emails and posting on social and that sort of stuff."
mhm,
But we talked about those aren't income producing activities. Tell me a little bit now, or about what your calendar looks like, what your day to day looks like in
mhm.
general. I don't need to know, okay, but how much time do you spend prospecting? How much time do you spend meeting with people on average?
Mm, well, usually I have like at least 1 or 2 appointments, whether it's a listing appointment or a buyer consultation
Per day
per
or per
day.
week? Okay.
Yeah, per day.
So we're spending two, and so that's
At
probably what,
least,
4 hours of appointments
I
from.
would say like maybe 2 to 3 hours
Okay.
of appointments. And then I do, right now, I do a lot of follow ups because my pipeline
Mhm.
is a little bit different. It's a more, I guess it's more compared to, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's more of a nurturing
It's more
pipeline.
of a nurturing
Okay.
pipeline. Um,
And so how many hours a day do you spend on that?
I would say 1 to 2 hours.
And are those phone calls, or those text messages, or those emails, or those Facebook like what do you mean when you say follow up?
Yeah, I would say texts, calls, emails,
Hmm.
but mostly calls and texts.
Cool.
Uh, and and the rest of the day is just picking up my phone, managing the escrows that I have currently, um, building relationships.
Hmm.
You know, I think it goes back to what I said earlier, right? I'm not in the real estate business. I'm in a people business. So majority of my day is just building relationships, not only with clients or potential clients, but also with other agents. Because a lot of the deals right now, especially in this market, it's very competitive, and unfortunately, yeah, it's a tough market. But what I'm seeing, a lot of the agents out there that are killing it and that are producing are the ones that are like hustling really hard, and the ones that are have the strong relationships with other agents, but also with their clients, and they're able to advise them as such moving forward.
How many hours? Let's just talk about the first 6 months you worked here. First 6 months into real estate, you closed 15 deals.
Mhm.
How many hours a day would you work?
I was working, I would say, you guys are probably gonna freak out, or you're not gonna freak out, but our audience is gonna freak out. So I was probably putting in 12 to 14 hours a day, sometimes even 15, 16 hours a day.
Yeah. And so, and what I love to say about that is eh, what happened, what you did was not on accident. It was
Mhm.
very intentional. It wasn't like, oh, well, I got, I did 15 deals because my dad owns a country club and he just told all of his buddies to buy investment properties. That's not your experience. Anyone can do what you did. And I say that respectfully,
Mhm.
if they're willing to put in the work. And so, what I love, I'm a big Gary Vee fan, and when I
Mhm.
first started listening to him, he was always about hustle, 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 work your face off, work 20 hours a day, right? And then he came back with kind of a correction or a rephrasing, and he says, "Look, I work 20 hours a day because I have the ambition to buy the New York Jets. If you don't want to buy
Mhm.
the Jets, if you want to make 40K a year, smoke pot and play Madden all day, and that's
Mhm.
all you want to do, sure, you don't have to work 20 hours a day. Like, work to your ambition or work for your goals, right? And so I know you have really lofty goals, and so that's why you put in 14, 15, 16 hours a day when you got into this. And even
Mhm.
still, you're not working 4 hours a day anymore. Like, you probably pulled it down from 16, but you're probably still working what, 6 to 12 hour days
I
every
would
day?
say I would say like 8 to 10 hours a
Yeah.
day now.
Um,
So I probably scraped some couple hours in there.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, can I say something on that
No,
note?
thank you for what? Nah, of course.
Brian, thank you. I love you. So when before I got into real estate, so as soon as I got my license, I knew it was gonna take a lot of hard work, because I I considered it as opening up my own business, right? Just
Hmm.
like opening up a boba shop or a car detail business, or a front store, whether it's an online business, whatever business that you're trying to do, real estate, being a realtor, you're opening up your own business. At least that's how I saw it, right? So I knew I was gonna put in the work. Well, I had to, because it was my own business. Like, why not, right? I see real estate. If you're a brand new agent, if I'm talking to you as a brand new agent, like when you come into the industry, um, think of this: like your business, your real estate career, is it's like to be successful in it, it's like a plane, right? Taking off. 60, 70% of the fuel of the airplane is going to be used up on the takeoff, right? And then the rest of the fuel is going to be just gliding through the air. So that's kind of how I saw my business when I first started. I needed to come in, uh, like running around. It's like ignorant on fire, right? It's like I was committed. I knew I was gonna put in at least 8 hours a day. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to fail forward. I'm going to make so many mistakes, but it's okay because I'm going to learn from it. Right. I ask a lot of questions. So it's almost like you're trying to, burst into the real estate, but, a lot of agents, they don't realize that it actually requires a lot of work to get your business up and running. It took a lot of force to get my business off the ground, right? Like that airplane. So that's how I saw it, and I already knew that was going to happen when I first started in real estate.
The thing that if someone's listening to this and they go, wait a second, you're saying, I know you're saying everything flows in together. But what I appreciate about you and what I respect about you and what I think it's hard for people to wrap their head around is I want to believe in myself that I'm the number one. and I
Mhm.
have confidence and I have a vision for where I'm going, but also I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, right?
Mhm.
And so there's that kind of disconnect. And I think the one way to kind of summarize it and how do you balance those two is kind of having
Mhm.
humility of knowing I know I take care of people and I trust myself and I'm looking out for their best interest and that's what makes me number one. But I
Yeah.
also know I have a lot to learn and that's why you surround yourself with education and a team and mentors and people that you know and that you like and that you trust to help get you your skills up so that way you can take care of them as the number one agent. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I think you brought up a really good point there, Brian. And I want to give the team, Whissel Realty, you, Kyle Whissel, all the top agents here at Whissel Realty, a lot of credits for where I'm at today in my career, because Whissel Realty was my first brokerage firm. I literally started here. I didn't know what to expect, but coming into this and just trusting the process, right? Just run the playbook that's already been given to you. I think that was the key, right? And going back to humility and being humble. Like if you don't have humility and you're not humble and you have a big ego, it's gonna be tougher for you to be successful in the industry because the system works, right? You just have to plug into the system, trust it, work it every single day, and ask a lot of questions because there's going to be people out there who's willing to help you become successful. Because the way our business is run here at EXP is to help other people to become successful. The more other people that you help become successful, we're all going to be successful. And that's one thing I wanted to just put it out there is that I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for Whissel Realty's support, the resources that we have over here, Kyle's mentorship, JC Agajanian, Matt Honeycutt, all these guys that helped me every step of the way. I just took it. I was a blank canvas coming in. I looked at the playbook, I followed it, and I failed forward. And I just kept believing in myself, and I just stayed consistent. And now here's where I'm at.
Adrian, I could talk to you for 100 years.
Yeah.
This I know is not one of your income producing activities. And so I think I've already taken up your 20% of the day. So hopefully you didn't answer any emails today because I think I've taken it up. Before we end the show and talk about our Whissel Widget of the Week, if you enjoyed this, please, please, please share it with a friend, share it with your broker, share it with a new agent, share it with someone that's thinking about becoming an agent so they can really see what it takes to go from no real estate experience to the number one agent all within 2.5 years. Also, feel free to give us a comment, leave us a review. That means a lot to us. And again, go to thewhisselway.com for more if you like this and want to keep growing your business. Let's jump into our Whissel Widget of the Week. This is something that we use in our business that saves us time, makes us money, or helps us have more fun. Mine, I just found out existed today. I create little reels on my phone for the team or some personal stuff. And I've mixed it up and I've used, the Instagram app, YouTube. This is actually why I saw it. YouTube is creating a app to make some reels as well. But the one that I use and that I've talked about here a lot is CapCut, CapCut. What I found out today is that you can actually use CapCut on your computer. That's not something I ever knew about. And so people are always asking me, what do you use to edit? And I tell them Adobe Premiere, and I said it's really hard. But now I want to look into, and I'd recommend CapCut on the computer. You can do cool templates and transitions, and again, that's what you can do on the phone. So CapCut for the computer is my widget of the week. What do you got for us, Adrian?
That's a really good suggestion
I
there.
saw you write it down.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Half of what Kyle says, I'm like, I've never heard of that. I have to look that up.
CapCut. All right, I'm probably going to use that. Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome.
So for me, I use Cam Scanner a lot because I don't know how to use a damn freaking printer. I always have problems with the printers. But yeah, so I like to use Cam Scanner for so many things, mainly for listing agreements, right? Because you can scan it in batches.
So this is an iPhone app, and you take a picture of the document, right?
Yeah, basically. And then it automatically resize it and get rid of all the background and just looks like you scanned it through a printer.
Yeah, and then
It's
I
pretty
think
cool.
it even has the factor where it can like read the text, right?
Yeah, 100%. And then also you can share it in many different ways, PDF, JPEG. You can share it via email, text, even AirDrop. It has an AirDrop. So that's what I use it for, mainly for listing agreement after clients sign. I use it for other things, but it's very helpful for me because I'm always on the go. I can just scan it right away. If it's if we need to list the house ASAP, then I'm probably not going to wait until I get to the office. I'll just scan it, print it. I mean, not print it, but and then upload it to our system. So that way, our marketing team could schedule the photos and take the photos, and we can hit live in our 7-day launch system.
Adrian, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing a little bit about what you do. Again, we could talk for ages, and I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah.
We can talk about your acceptance, how high your acceptance rate is to get buyers' offers accepted, or your listing. I mean, we could talk about anything. So thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you for watching this week's episode of the Whissel Way podcast. We'll see you next week.
Wait. Before you leave, I want to share some more tips and tricks that we're using in our business to take it to that next level. Just click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Click right here.